You always hear people say, well, we've never seen it like this before. It's never been like this. People with a lot longer history than what I have saying that it's pretty concerning about where we're going to end up in the next 20 years.
What can we shift? What can we change? How we practice with the cows or the potatoes to keep farming, even if family transition or climate transition isn't the same as what it's been the past generation or two.
It's always changing, it's always evolving. And the same with kind of the soil health. Every year I hear another tidbit, I learn another microbe's name. It's kind of fascinating how much we don't know below our own surface of our feet.
It's the real deal. I feed the world. And there's times it's just me out here though, but the job needs to get done. If we want to grow a crop, I got to make sure that water is getting into the soil. I am a Ute tribal member. I've been here since 2002. I am now the operations manager / irrigation manager, but my main focus is the irrigation department. Just making sure the soil gets its moisture, because I know there's organic material in the soil, microorganisms doing its part. I mean, it's one of the most challenging things I have ever done, but it really changed the view on agriculture to me.
In your soil. Healthier soil, sort of like your body. You get enough rest and you have a healthy body, you're running on all cylinders. But if one thing is out of kilter, then it starts limiting a lot of other.
I found my part in the world. I'm feeding it, and that keeps me going.
Are there things that we can do in soil health that will be better? To really increase the health of our soils for future generations. So I think when we talk about resiliency, it's so important that we really consider and we make sure that we don't have the unintended consequence of reducing the amount of diversity that we have. The climate is different every year, but we've taken some pretty drastic changes, really. We used to do all fresh vegetable production, but really in this location in Brighton, Colorado, we're seeing so much urban growth coming in. That the challenge that we couldn't overcome was that, most fruits and vegetables take a really high labor demand. So we're transitioning away from those labor-intensive crops, and now we're really thinking about some of those techniques like residue management and minimum till and carbon sequestration. Well, here we are entering one of the fields that we can really see the difference of the different approaches we're taking. This field is more traditional tillage, what we used to do in the past with vegetable production, really having to work the ground a lot, plowing it, disking it, and you can see that the soil is, all there's hardly any residue at all. There's a lot of clods that have developed. Probably not a lot of moisture down there. It's really dry. But now that we're doing grain crops, we're starting to transition a little bit and try some stuff focused in really saving more residue. So just walking right across the road here, we experimented this year with planting a little bit of wheat as cover crop. You can see we had a great stand. The wheat has come up. It's going to really provide some great ground cover for us. You can see we've also tried to incorporate and leave more of the residue from last year's crop. Last year's crop was silage corn, so we're trying to keep all that root, that mass, that organic matter there in the soil. And you can see this one, compared to the other one, it's not going to blow away if the wind comes in. So we've got that great growth. It'll take off in the spring, and hopefully we'll keep our fingers crossed. It'll also help keep the weeds down in this soil, and we're going to keep our fingers crossed that we can keep advancing some of these techniques that we didn't have the opportunity to do in the past. I mean, each farmer is different, each operation is different, their crop rotation is different, the climate may be different, their soil types are different. And so it doesn't make sense that we're going to force everybody to be in the same thing. You know, adopt what works in your particular area.
I want to have the highest profit per acre. Thankfully, I'm following some people that I've had the opportunity to get to know and to learn from. And, you know, they've made the mistakes and they've learned all the hard lessons. Now I just got to take their ideas and make them work for me. You know, this year we're raising 14 crops, and we want to make the soil as healthy as we can. Because if we make the soil healthy, well, then we raise good crops. We don't have as many inputs. We don't have as many weed issues. We don't have as many disease issues. Our net revenue per acre is unbelievable. My dad raised sunflowers, planted them for years. We're in the middle of a drought, and we're almost going to make what his average used to be. Before we started focusing on soil health, our goal was to break even every year. You know, it's always nice when you can pay the bills and at the end of the year have something left over.
If we can ever figure out how to do that, where we can keep something living, growing all the time, and still produce the crop that will pay the bills so I don't go broke, you know, that's kind of what I'm after. So this field right here, this was organic sweet corn. And if you measure your, you know, how much revenue I generated off that, or how many boxes of sweet corn, it was a complete failure. We didn't get any sweet corn off of it. But the ground was covered, there was something growing. The soil's healthier for next year. This is something I'm striving to do every time on every acre, everywhere. Have a companion or an interseeded crop. Everything I have has some mix or tinge of these things I believe in, you know, water conservation, you know, efficiency, solar capture, reduce inputs. Trying to keep the ground covered, trying to capture sunlight, trying to be net energy efficient.
We've grown this Coors barley and russet potato rotation, a 2-year rotation for like 50 years. I've been starting to put cattle on farmland and moving them around on cover crops. You know, I bought cattle and we started putting cattle on the river. And so as we brought cover crops into the production model, I think that's helped the ground tremendously. And we're gonna have, I can tell already, like better yields, better crop, because we're just being more efficient and less wasteful with our water.
You know, I feel really lucky to be back living in this same place where I grew up and where my grandparents grew up and where my great-grandparents grew up, because there's a lot of history there. But it's fun to see my kids feel comfortable getting on a horse and riding, or be comfortable around, you know, the safety of big equipment, or just being able to be outside and have that safe space or have that big area to explore. So hopefully that's something that will benefit them later in life too.
I don't know what 20 years looks like from now. I hope we're still farming, and I hope if my kids want to be a part of this operation that there's something for them to do here and to be profitable and sustainable, but I'm not sure I know what that looks like, because I do think things are changing. And then we kind of, like the rest of the West, are going through this changing climate that is affecting our entire water supply. So not only have we been kind of mining it, but now we're just not getting the snow melt and the rain like we used to. We had a well collapse this year, and several of our neighbors around us had well trouble as well. And so as our aquifer really changes, and as the Rio Grande River and this climate changes, I think that's kind of also a push for you to reevaluate how things have always been.
So we can continue to help support our family, but then also the economy here and that ability to transition in the future to another generation.
We need to be thinking about a more diverse perspective. From the perspective of the farmer, from the perspective of the soil, from the perspective of the consumer. I don't have a good solution other than people paying attention and having productive dialogues.
Described as phenomenal plant growth and also carbon building in the soil.
Farmers are a rather independent lot. What's really kind of fascinating is people are far more willing to share than they were in the past. There have been a tremendous amount of soil health tours and interest in guys trying different things and new things, and there used to be hardly any cover crops here 20 years ago, and now almost every farmer's experimented with them in some way or another. And so just a host of things that it has kind of been a catalyst for us to not only learn from one another, to also become more experimental.
I've been welcomed by every person that I've gone to visit, and they've gone out of the way to show me their operation or show me the lay of the land or show me how their water system is developed, and I think it's benefited both of us.
Keep your agricultural land, keep it going. We need to grow the food.